are delighted you chose to be with us today, and we want you to have a wonderful experience. Please be assured your safety as well as your enjoyment of the event are our utmost concern. Please take a moment, look around, and identify the nearest two exits. Whether in a virtual setting at your home or physically in some formal venue, we must always be emergency ready. So please identify two exits in your current location in the event it is necessary to evacuate quickly and orderly in case of the need for an emergency evacuation. Also, as we strive to continue to stay safe and healthy, please follow the latest guidance from the CDC. Remember to wear your mask when necessary and wash your hands regularly. Greetings, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by the Pittsburgh Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Before we begin, I will be providing a few housekeeping items for our event. All lines have been muted, and to eliminate interruptions, all participants will remain in listen-only mode. If you have any questions for our presenters, please feel free to enter them in the Q&A pane that can be located via the bottom of your Zoom window. Questions will be addressed during the appointed time. We hope you enjoyed today's webinar, and now I'll turn it over to our chapter leadership for welcome and introductions. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. My name is Helen Bowers, and I am the president of the Pittsburgh Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Thank you for attending our second part of our series. Our chair is Doris Smith, and I will hand that off to Doris to start the program.
Thank you, Sora President. Welcome again to an entrepreneurship mindset. This evening, again, as a reminder, the purpose of this program is to provide best practices to beginning and emerging business leaders in the Pittsburgh area. This program will run weekly until November the 21st. So come out to continue to learn about ways to build your brand, funding, and business tips. Tonight, I'd like to start off with our guest speaker this evening, Chris Thorpe. Chris Thorpe is an accomplished, driven sales management professional with an established 30-year track record of delivering profitable results. His core competencies in B2B sales, sales management, business development, inside sales management, operations and client acquisition and retention, and also he has the ability to interface with all levels of customers from IT to the C-level suite. I'd like to introduce to you and welcome a visionary entrepreneur and industry innovator, Chris Thorpe.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for this opportunity to come and to speak to you all in reference to the entrepreneurial mindset. This is a very exciting opportunity to be able to tell a little bit about my story in reference to how I got going and some of the ups and downs and some of the flaws maybe that I may have run into that hopefully through this conversation, as brief as it might be something that may be able to eliminate some of your difficulties in reference to business. Just as a quick overview, as Doris was saying, that I'm 35 years now in business as an entrepreneur. I started off back in 1998 with a private cable company. Started there in the Pittsburgh area. I did that for about 21 years, building that business up. We were able to sell that to the second largest cable company. A portion of that was sold to them. After that process, I went on and started another company after that, which was an environmental company called Germ Sweep. So we were able to start that during the COVID pandemic, and that lasted for 3 years. And after 3 years, we were able to sell that to a publicly traded company, which was a great success. And now we're in the process of kind of redoing it again. So I've kind of been through the ups and downs of business acquisition, of startups, etc. So I think the best way of doing it, instead of being very formal, I think it's the best way is to kind of tell my story of how I got started. And it really started back in 1998 with Choice Media Group. In reference to marketing and branding, I think we were able back then to do something a little bit different than what traditional marketing and branding kind of does today. Typically, when you think of marketing, you think of branding, you think of I have a product or I have a service that I'm trying to get out nationwide. I'm trying to get this product and this service out to, everyone from New York to California. And how do I do that? And typically, the problem with a startup, if you're thinking about starting your business, is from a financial standpoint, that becomes very, very difficult to market and to brand your service or your product to the entire country or to the entire world. So with that in mind, we were able to kind of switch it a little bit, and we did what's called niche marketing. So we were able to find a niche within the cable industry to say that, okay, even though I can sell my service to, every individual from New York to California, again, how do I shrink that down and do more niche marketing? So what we did was we focused on a certain area, a certain vertical within our industry, and marketed strictly to that. And that was what's called the MDU market. MDU stands for multi-dwelling units. Multi-dwelling units was a way that we could reach and access, hundreds of people that we didn't have to market to the entire, for instance, let's say Pittsburgh. I didn't have to market to entire Pittsburgh. I marketed just to that individual apartment complex or that individual facility that may have had a couple hundred people within it. So what I was able to do, I was able to penetrate the market and gain access to a lot of customers extremely fast by doing target marketing. So with that, we were able to compete now against, back then it was your TCIs, your AT&Ts, and now your Comcast. We were able to compete against them because we kind of leveled out the playing field by going to a specific target market, and that was the MDU industry. One of the big benefits to that was the fact that if you think about cable TV, if you think about your cable providers, they're not gaining a lot of customers every month. Most of their business is churn. It's somebody moving from the east side to the west side. So what we were able to do was go in, and if we could take 400 or 500 customers away from our competitor at one time, we became really a kind of a gnat in their side. And because of that, over the years, we were able to sell to them, or they came to us in reference to purchasing us. And the interesting thing about being an entrepreneur and getting purchased was that we were able to sell off portions of our assets and not the entire company. So we went ahead and we started selling different pieces of the business, which made it a lot easier for us. After that, after we sold a portion of CMG over to the cable company, then we went ahead and we started another company called Germ Sweep, and this was during the pandemic. Process, very, very simple process, same thought. How do we reach, the entire country as quickly and as fast as we possibly can? What's our product and what's our service? Is our product something that can be used by everyone? Is it something where there is a perceived need and a perceived desire by individuals and by companies? Well, of course, we all know that during COVID and during that period of time, one of the big things was infection and being able to pass that infection on. So sitting at my mother's kitchen table, literally three of us, we came together, we said, you know what, let's just start a business. And let's go out and let's start cleaning or spraying homes and businesses to void of COVID. This was back in 2020. We started doing that, and we just started doing locally. But once again, getting back to marketing and branding, we were not necessarily able to use our old target market approach. So what we did was we built up a team of dealers throughout the country who were able to then go and sell our product across the board to other businesses. Now, we ended up with about 27 different companies or individuals who joined us to be able to offer our product to the country. So with that, and from that process, we were able to allow them now as dealers to brand and to market for us. So if we go down to Florida, we have a presence in Florida, not necessarily because we, the main company, did the marketing and the branding down there, but it was because of the fact that we connected with other individuals in that area and allowed them to go forward and sell our product and our services. So in reference to marketing and branding, it's not something that you have to, do yourself. If you get the right team together and the right individuals in certain markets and certain areas, they can actually do most of the branding for you, and they can do the marketing, which still comes back to you at the end of the day. So we were able to kind of do that, and we were doing electrostatic spraying. Well, because of some of those relationships, it kind of grew. And then we said, well, we still are not reaching enough people. The market is still not large enough. So what we did was we began to go after government work. And we found a website called Bid Prime, and Bid Prime basically lists all of the RFPs that are out there in the country, whether it's government, it's municipalities, it's state, etc. And you go to that site and you type in exactly what you offer, and it'll list for you all the RFPs, requests for proposals that are out there. So we were then able to go, and the good thing about the RFP market, if you market there, you don't necessarily need a whole bunch of contracts. You really only need one or two. So with that, we were able to launch into government work. Process is very, very simple. Literally, it's a matter of filling out, if you have your EIN number, if you have your corporate paperwork, if you have your LLC, the process literally takes about 20 minutes to log in, get your information, get what's called a cage code. And the cage code now allows you to sell your product to the government. I thought at first I thought it was going to be a very drawn out process, and it wasn't. It was very, very simple. We received our first contract. Probably we lost 2 RFPs. The third one we ended up winning for multi-million-dollar contract. With that, being versatile again and being able to change from just electrostatic spraying, the government was looking for indoor air quality sensors. They wanted to be able to sense the air, what's happening inside the air. When I walk into a location, is there COVID in that room or not? They wanted to have that ability. So we were able to switch and to migrate over from just electrostatic spraying to now doing indoor air quality. So with that, we were able to grow the company in 3 years from 6 dealers. I think we ended up with about 33 dealers across the country who were no longer doing electrostatic spraying, but now they were marketing and branding the product within their local areas to state and to government officials. Branding, the big word. One thing that we all want to do, we want to try to get a logo, we want to try to get a name, we want to make sure the name is a fancy name, a good name. One of the things that we ran into when we were approached by a large company to buy us was our name. And we found out that one of the issues they did not want to buy us at that time was because of our name. They thought it was a very generic name. And literally our name was called Germ Sweep. That was just a name that we came up at the kitchen table, not really thinking about long-term and not really thinking about growth. And that was a very minor issue that almost did not make a huge deal go through because of the fact that we had the wrong name. The name was too generic. So as an entrepreneur, I would tell you that when you think about the name of your company and you think about how are you going to name your company, make sure it's something that speaks to the product, but also make sure it says something bigger probably than where you are at that present time. When we started Germ Suite, made sense because it was three of us. We were working at a kitchen table, and that was it. But as we grew out of the name, and it came to the point that literally we had to go back and rename the entire company because of the fact of the name. So we had to move it from that name over to GSI Technologies, which now sounds like, a very fancy name, a big brand. But it was the way that we were, able to switch it out because we didn't think in the beginning of the name and of the branding and the importance of branding. In addition to that, one of the other marketing things that we were able to do long term was that we were able to build up, and what made us attractive is that we were able to build up a funnel of customers. So when we talk about a funnel and we're talking about the value of your company and really kind of the growth of it, it's not necessarily always the actual sales. So it's not always the fact that, hey, I sold, $100,000 of this product. I sold $300,000 of this product. And so now when you start looking at an evaluation of your business, typically it's 3 times your revenue. It's typically what your selling price is. Well, nowadays things have kind of switched a little bit. And now if you have a big enough funnel, and the funnel is nothing more than an opportunity. So if you can list out through your funnel, we were able to build up a funnel that was over $20 million. And that's not saying that we were doing $20 million worth of business, but it was saying that we were able to sell ourselves from the standpoint that we had $20 million worth of opportunity that was sitting there on the table. And to larger corporations, that was very intriguing to them. And it was something that they wanted to basically have access to. So as you grow your business, and really as you start your business, I think you have to start off with the concept of saying, where do I want to end this thing? Is this a business that I want to start now and I want to do it for 20, 30 years? Might be. When I started off with CMG, the cable company, that was all I knew. So I did that for 30 years. And luckily we were able to sell that. But if I would have done it again, I would have set it up totally different. When we started Germ Suite or GSI Technologies, we started that with the intention of only being around for under 5 years. So when you do that, you set it up a little bit differently because your thought is not necessarily long-term. Your thought is, how do I make myself attractive enough? How do I make myself inviting enough that a company is going to come and want to purchase? It sounds like a huge ordeal to find someone to buy your business, but it's really not. There's a lot of opportunity out there if you have a good product, a good service, and a good structure. And that's what they're looking for. And if you have a good funnel of business out there that you're able to offer and talk to customers about. And I think that was some of the successes that I had. Where we are today is that, after we sold the company last year, I worked out a deal and I stayed on board with them for 1 year as a part of the agreement to help them with their business development. And we've already moved over to a new company, which we've started this year, which is the Gnome Group. And basically, it's an environmental sustainability company. So now we've taken our knowledge from the last company, we've waited our year out so that there were no conflicts. And now we're able to move into the same industry, but possibly make it a little bit better. Same process. We got set up. We started marketing. We're still going after the government work and the government business. So that's a little bit about my overall story as an entrepreneur. One of the biggest things today, I was telling Doris, is that she asked me how was my day, and I was like, it was very difficult. Well, why? It was difficult because another partner of ours who we were looking at doing a JV with, an actual joint venture with, and he's an entrepreneur, and he just got burnt out. And sometimes, this road is a roller coaster. And I always tell people, they say, well, what is it like to be an entrepreneur? I said, you know what? When it's good, it's good. But when it's not, you got to be able to ride the roller coaster. And there's a lot of days where, you're not getting a check every other week. And you have to acknowledge that, and you got to remember that. But when they come in great. But it's not as consistent probably as most people may be accustomed to. So, I think you want to be careful with some of those situations and just kind of know your personality and know how you deal with those situations and be ready to have enough revenue or set aside or savings that can carry you through in some of those tough times. So that's a quick 20-minute overview of kind of where I am and how I got started. Doris, I'll turn it if there's any questions. I can answer any questions that you guys might have in reference to marketing, in reference to branding, in reference to starting your business, etc.
Thank you, Chris. I think Deborah.
You're on mute.
I'd like to ask you some questions. One of the questions that I have for you is regarding explaining more about evaluating your business. So what does that look like?
Well, basically, the standard is that it's 3 times your revenue. So if you want to look at an easy way of doing it, most companies going to evaluate you 3 times your revenue is how you can come up with your evaluation. As a new business, though, there's a lot of more that you can put to get that number up. You can add sweat equity in there. You could add funnel, which is what I talked about earlier, which is a big piece. We took our business that, was doing a little bit under 10 million, and we doubled its value because of the funnel that we had, the opportunities in which that we had. So now instead of going from 3 times revenue, we went 6 times revenue, and then we did 2 times funnel, or the opportunities that was out there.
And my next question to you is about when you first started in 1998, because I'm sure there are a lot of new entrepreneurs that are on. How did you get the funds together to start your business? What is your suggestion in terms of stepping out there and putting your money into, first it becomes a hobby and then it becomes your work? How did you finance your business in the beginning?
Great question. Well, actually, I financed my business from my present job. So at that point, I had a 9-to-5 job. And with that 9-to-5 job, I continued working that job while I established my business. And I didn't quit my original job until I was making enough in the business. And how we call it, my side hustle, is really what it was in the beginning. After that, after I was able to at least have enough revenue to sustain myself, I didn't go after the huge projects. I went after smaller projects that I knew could bring in some type of revenue. I think a big issue that a lot of entrepreneurs have is that we want to eat the whole apple. I didn't go after the whole apple. I went after little bites. And that way I was able to keep some actual revenue flow. Third thing that I did was that once I got established, I went after VC money, which is venture capital money. With venture capital money, we raised about $1.6 million of VC money back in '99, I believe. And that was from a local venture capital company there in Pittsburgh.
Okay, thank you. And the last question that I would have would be, what do you think would be a challenge for someone that's first starting their business, or whether it's marketing, whether it's finances? You explained how they get finances, but what would be a challenge for a new entrepreneur starting a business?
I would probably say marketing, because marketing kind of incorporates financing. Um, but I think being able, a lot of people have great ideas, great products, but it's being able to get your product out there. How do I get the masses to know about my product and buy my product? It goes back to the old, once again, you have to figure out something different and more creative than just doing, like your email blast. That stuff is great, but it doesn't work anymore. You got to find something different and something within your industry that can set you apart. So what we did was we were able to go and find that niche market to offer our services to, that wasn't going to cost us a lot. That's why for us, the MDU market was a market that, it was going to cost us a couple $100 a month, but yet we could gain, 500 customers. Whereas if I was trying to get 500 customers across the country, that would have cost me, tens and $20,000. So you got to find that little niche or group of people that are interested in your product, and that's who you have to market to initially.
Okay, and there is another question, and the question is, as an entrepreneur, what do you find most challenging for motivating an entrepreneur?
Wow, I think that's when you say for motivating.
Yeah, so the most challenging but motivating thing. So you talked about the marketing, but as far as keeping them motivated to go after their goal.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a personal, it all depends kind of what your personality is. I am very and I tell people a lot, it's not about chasing the money. If you're chasing the money, if you're an entrepreneur because of the money, it's you're going to have an extremely tough time. Um, my main piece is being able to say, hey, I want to show some success, and I'm motivated. I mean, to this day, for me to walk into, let's say, Rivers Casino in Pittsburgh and see all those TVs that are on there,
Mm-hmm.
and know that those are on because of, my service and my equipment and my product, and they've been on for the last, 15 or 20 years. I mean, that's exciting to me because it's amazing. I'm thinking, wow, I can't believe I did that. So you got to find something within your product that moves you more than just money. It has to be the fact that either you took something from nothing and you grew it with great success and were able to sell it. I mean, it still amazes me. I was able to sell 2 companies before I was 45. No, before I was 50. That's, you got to find something there.
Mm-hmm. I have a question from Chris Edmonds. They're saying, do you use competitive landscape analysis? If so, how do you feel it has benefited your business?
I don't use competitive. I don't use that landscape at all. One of the things that we've tried to do from a competitive standpoint is lean on, is have our service and our product and kind of lean on that. So we know who's out there. We know how we need to be priced. But other than pricing, that's about all we really use from a competitive standpoint. Because every day we try to make sure that we're offering the best service and the best product.
Mm-hmm. And then we also have another question about, how do you build your network as an entrepreneur?
Networking, it's really, we did a lot, and you're probably going to have to do a lot of trade shows, um, a lot of conferences, and just LinkedIn is a huge part. When the company we just sold last year, they found us on LinkedIn. We didn't find, they actually found us there. So I think networking, getting familiar with the industry that you're in and really knowing that industry well, knowing who, who does have the best product, who you could try to model. I think partnering a lot with others out there who you meet is a big piece of growth. So you really have to get in tune with the industry that you want to focus in on.
Thank you. Those are all the questions I have, unless there's some others that someone wants to put into the Q&A.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. I've learned a lot. I know I've taken away a lot of nuggets, as always, from you. Some terms that you put out there for us, and really the funneling, those are areas of opportunity. Also, the RFPs. If you don't know what an RFP is, a request for proposal, that's key for the government contracts. And I know, Chris, I know I've learned that a lot from you. And the targeted marketing, especially for marketing and marketing companies, just really narrowing it down to the groups. And what you did with the MDU, that was outstanding. So I thank you so much and for just coming on and sharing your knowledge with us and getting us started or getting us remotivated in that as being an entrepreneur. So thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. We're going to go ahead and we have our business spotlight today from Deshawn Stanley. So Deshawn, we're going to turn it over to you.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can.
Okay, great, great, great. First and foremost, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of this call. I feel very honored and privileged to be amongst so many wonderful people, shall I say. So, moving forward, I am the owner of Serenity Falls Adult Daycare. I've been in the business for 8 years, and not only do I have a daycare, I have a residential care home as well. I started this back in 2015 because I just have a love for caring for people, taking care of people, especially the elderly and the young adults with special needs. So taking care of my grandmother and my grandfather before they passed just did something to my heart. And with that being said, I always said if I ever came into a little money that I was gonna do this. I know I can't save everybody, but I could help somebody. And my heart just goes out to those group of individuals. No, starting an adult daycare and a residential care home, it's not easy, but it's very doable. You have to just make the time and make up in your mind that it is something that you want to do. And I've been speaking at different seminars and conferences about the business, and I'm willing to help anyone that's wanting to venture off into residential care home, just as well as adult daycare. I love what I do. I'm branching out more and more, and as long as I keep God in the midst of everything, I know that I'm going to be very prosperous and successful with what I'm doing. And that's me.
Well, Thank you, Deshawn, for sharing your
You're
business.
welcome. Yes.
Sharing your business with us. Is there
Yes.
and you have some time, so is there anything else that you'd like to share with us? Or, and I know when we spoke at another time that you're able to also help businesses start up, you know, not right within your area, but also nationally as well. Could you
Yes,
tell us
I'm
more about
willing.
that?
Yes, I'm willing to come go anywhere to help individuals get started if need be. I'm available to go from Houston to New York, LA, anywhere the need is. I'm willing and ready to go and help get your business started. I have no problem with that. I have no problem because in the beginning, I had no one to help me. I had to learn on my own. I had to pray. I had to fast. And like I said, no, it wasn't easy. And I promised God that if He allowed me to get going and get where I needed to be, that I would help any and everybody that's needing and wanting the help. And that meant from nations to nations, far and far. I don't care. I'm willing and ready to help anyone. I'm very communicable. I don't mind sharing my knowledge, whatever it may be. I'm willing to come and help.
Well, thank you. Thank you again. Thank you, Deshawn,
You're very
for
welcome.
joining us this evening.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
we are we're gonna be able to give you back some time this evening. As
Okay.
we move forward. We'd like to do our announcement of our winner
Okay.
our winner from last week,
Yes,
and for participating in the program.
yes.
We did a drawing last week, and our winner from last week is Brianna Toddy. So
Okay.
Brianna, thank you. You'll be receiving a $25 gift card
That's
um,
nice.
from Amazon. We'll email that gift card to you. So thank you very much.
Yes, that's amazing.
And we just want to highlight it, just a few our upcoming programs. We have our next series. It will be Wednesday, November the 8th. On Wednesday, November the 8th, we'll be talking about grant funding and sponsorship. So please join us on the 8th. On the 14th, we'll go back to Tuesday for Tuesdays for 1 hour. And remember, it'll start at 6 p.m. each evening. Please invite your friends, family, anyone that you know that may be interested in being an entrepreneur. Here's the place, and here's the place to get that information. And we wet your whistle last week, and this week we did it again with Chris Thorpe and his amazing business and his entrepreneurship skills, and Deshawn Stanley and her amazing business spotlight as well, and her entrepreneurial skills and willingness to go around the country to help you build your business. We want to thank both of our guests this evening for your continued support. And we're going to conclude our programming for this evening. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing you next Wednesday, November the 8th at 6 p.m. Join us then. Thank you.